Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Daniel Levy's reign ends at Tottenham, remembered for his deals that even Sir Alex called more painful than surgery. Daniel Levy has stepped down as Tottenham's executive chairman after almost 25 years at the club. And an admission made by the iconic Sir Alex Ferguson summed up his shrewd and often frustrating negotiating skills. Levy, who joined the Spurs board in December 2000, has been the figurehead behind the North London club's move from White Hart Lane to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. He now steps down with no changes being made to his ownership or shares in the club, as the Levy family will continue to own 29.88% of the share capital of ENIC. It comes hot on the heels of Vinay Venkatesham's arrival as Chief Executive Officer, while Peter Charrington has joined the board and stepped into the role of non-executive chairman, in what has been described as a move prioritising sporting success. Levy was renowned during his time with Spurs for his approach to transfers, building up a reputation as a shrewd negotiator with an eye for a deal. However, these tactics rubbed legendary Manchester United boss Ferguson the wrong way when the two were pitched against each other in negotiations over Dimitar Berbatov 17 years ago. Berbatov eventually sealed a switch from White Hart Lane to Old Trafford for £30 million, although the bitter fallout saw Tottenham complain to the Premier League over the move. Afterwards, Ferguson was less than complimentary when reflecting on the negotiations. That whole experience was more painful than my hip replacement, he penned in his book, Leading, displaying just how difficult Levy was to deal with, effectively paying the now 63-year-old a backhanded compliment about his negotiating skills. After Levy's exit was announced, he released a heartfelt statement. "I'm incredibly proud of the work I've done together with the executive team and all our employees. We have built this club into a global heavyweight competing at the highest level. More than that, we have built a community," he continued. "I was lucky enough to work with some of the greatest people in this sport, from the team at Lilywhites House and Hotspur Way to all the players and managers over the years. I wish to thank all the fans that have supported me over the years. It hasn't always been an easy journey, but significant progress has been made. I will continue to support this club passionately." Charrington will now step up as the non-executive chairman, and he stated after joining the Tottenham board, "I am very honoured to become non-executive chairman of this extraordinary club, and on behalf of the board, I would like to thank Daniel and his family for their commitment and loyalty to the club over so many years. This is a new era of leadership for the club, on and off the pitch. I do recognise there has been a lot of change in recent months as we put in place new foundations for the future. We are now fully focused on stability and empowering our talented people across the club, led by Vinay and his executive team. Daniel Levy's 24-year reign at Tottenham is over, and a bold new era begins in N17. Daniel Levy's exit from Tottenham is believed to be the final piece of the jigsaw of plans from the club's owners to push the North London outfit onto bigger things with a fresh approach and more silverware. It was announced on Thursday that the 63-year-old would be stepping down with immediate effect after almost a quarter of a century in N17, and Football.London understands it is the final part of plans by the Lewis family behind Spurs owners ENIC to see through a summer of change and bring fresh blood to the leadership of the club that they believe will push it to greater heights going forward. This summer has seen Ange Postecoglou sacked as head coach with Thomas Frank replacing him, and at board level Vinay Venkatesham came in as the club's chief executive officer, with Scott Munn placed on gardening leave from his role as chief football officer. It was also announced in June that Levy's longtime advisor Donna Maria Cullen would be stepping down after almost 3 decades at the club, and now the chairman himself has left his position. Levy helped deliver the club's new stadium and new training facilities while in charge, but now there are plans from those at the very top, at Spurs, to push on matters on the pitch, with a belief that success on it has not been consistent enough over the years. Levy's departure, having been the longest-serving chairman in the Premier League, has been in the works for a little while, but has been kept quiet out of respect for everything he has done inside the club over the decades, which ended with the second trophy of his tenure. as Tottenham won the Europa League in May to end 17 years without silverware. Nordic football. London understands that the Lewis family currently has no plans to sell the club, and that is why, after instigating a thorough review of the organisation, they pushed through plans to alter the structure at Tottenham to become a more modern one with a CEO. While Levy was seen by many as a part owner running the club, the new direction is more one of the owners looking to back it rather than run it. Vivian Lewis is a regular presence at matches, known around the club as Viv, and was spotted alongside Levy in the opening day victory against Burnley. Her father Joe was the long-time owner of the club, but the 88-year-old stepped away from that role some years back. Vivian is Senior Managing Director of Tavistock Group, which owns ENIC, as is her brother Charles, and the two children as well as their grandchildren, as Spurs fans, are understood to have taken on a more active role in backing the club. That backing has come through the injection of extra football knowledge, with the addition of one of the game's most sought-after CEOs in Venkatesham to lead the day-to-day running of Tottenham, with new non-executive chairman Peter Charrington, who is not expected to be involved in the football side of things on a daily basis, overseeing the big picture following Levy's departure from his more hands-on role. Generations of the Lewis family support this special football club, and they want what the fans want: more wins more often. A source close to the family told Football.London. This is why you have seen recent changes, new leadership, and a fresh approach. In Vinay, Thomas and Peter Charrington, they believe they are backing the right team to deliver on this. This is a new era. Levy will remain as part of the club, as a shareholder, but without direct influence over the running of the club. ENIC own an 86.91% share, and of that, a trust of which the Lewis family are beneficiaries of owns 70.12%, while Levy and his family are potential beneficiaries of discretionary trusts which own 29.88% of that share capital. I am incredibly proud of the work I have done together with the executive team and all our employees, said Levy. We have built this club into a global heavyweight competing at the highest level. More than that, we have built a community. I was lucky enough to work with some of the greatest people in this sport, from the team at Lilywhites House and Hotspur Way, to all the players and managers over the years. I wish to thank all the fans that have supported me over the years. It hasn't always been an easy journey, but significant progress has been made. I will continue to support this club passionately. Charrington added, "I'm very honoured to become non-executive chairman of this extraordinary club, and, on behalf of the board, I would like to thank Daniel and his family for their commitment and loyalty to the club over so many years. This is a new era of leadership for the club, on and off the pitch. I do recognise there has been a lot of change in recent months as we put in place new foundations for the future. We are now fully focused on stability and empowering our talented people across the club, led by Vinay and his executive team. Thomas Frank's first Champions League squad as Tottenham boss has sparked controversy, 6 players axed, and one decision in particular raising eyebrows. While injuries and fitness concerns explain some omissions, the exclusion of Mathys Tel, a £51 million summer signing tipped for a breakout season, has left many Spurs fans questioning whether the club has repeated its old European mistakes. Thomas Frank always faced a difficult decision when it came to picking his Tottenham squad for this season's edition of the Champions League. Spurs have had major issues in terms of naming a European squad in the past due to UEFA regulations, although not quite to the extent of the 2025/26 campaign. The Dane didn't just have to leave out 1 or 2 Tottenham players, instead had to axe a total of 6, which is a massive failure on the club's part. Some decisions were fairly straightforward, such as James Maddison and Dejan Kulusevski missing the cut due to their injuries, and some were not. Yves Bissouma was another player to be dropped amid the prospect of him potentially leaving, with the transfer window still remaining open in certain European leagues. Radu Dragusin also missed out, as he works his way back to fitness from the ACL injury he suffered back in January, with fellow centre-back Kota Takai also one of the unlucky ones to be axed. The 6th and final player to be given the bad news was Mathys Tel. Antonin Kinski and Wilson Odobert may have been the other players at risk, but it was the summer addition from Bayern Munich who was cruelly dropped by Frank. It was an extremely harsh call, and one that many have since questioned. It was not the news the player who is currently away on France under-21 duty. Wanted, and perhaps even expected, Tell's omission from this season's squad does not have to be the end of his Champions League story though. His teammate Jed Spence is the perfect example after finding himself in exactly the same position 1 year ago when Ange Postecoglou selected his Europa League squad. As clubs are permitted to make a maximum of 3 squad changes before the knockout phase, Spence was rewarded for his good domestic form with a place in the Europa League party. He would end the season with a Europa League winners' medal around his neck after Tottenham beat Manchester United 1-0 in the final. Tell could force his way back into the squad come the start of February, providing of course that Tottenham do secure a place in the knockout round. Kulusevski will certainly be knocking on the door, and the same goes for Dragusin, with Spurs potentially having new January signings to consider as well. The absence of Tell for Tottenham's league phase fixtures could leave Frank's side slightly short up front. On UEFA's website, Dominic Solanke, Richarlison, and new signing Randall Kolo Muani are listed as the team's 3 strikers. The Tottenham boss has adequate options there, but he may have a big issue if injury strikes. Many have pointed to Solanke's current injury and question marks over his exact return date, while Richarlison has endured numerous injury woes in his 3 seasons in N17 and has struggled to be available week in, week out at times since joining from Everton. It seemed to be a no-brainer to have Tell in the squad for that reason, but that is no longer the case. The ex-Rennes man will now have to try and get his minutes domestically, as he bids for a big season at Tottenham. That may be easier said than done, as he has only played a total of 30 minutes across 3 appearances in the team's opening 4 games of the season. Frank has plenty of options out wide, with Kolo Muani boosting the numbers this week following his switch from PSG on deadline day, and that may in turn limit Tell's football. There is no doubt that the Sarcelles-born player is very talented, and Tottenham have only seen glimpses of his quality so far. The 2025/26 season was always viewed as the season where Tell would make his mark in the capital, after having the final 4 months of last season to adapt to his new surroundings and new league, after initially joining on loan from Bayern Munich. That will hopefully be the case in the months ahead, but Tell is now in a position where he can only feature domestically, and he will be watching on from the stands in Europe's premier competition. Certainly a cruel blow, and something more of Tottenham's own doing due to their long-standing European squad issues. Tell now has to use it as fuel, and show Frank that he was wrong to cut him from his Champions League squad.